Hey guys, welcome to my Captain Marvel movie review. It's gonna be um, it's gonna be a bit of a tough one to do. I've mentioned before that I was very unsure about Captain Marvel. I was very unsure, only because just from the trailers I saw, I was really focusing on some of the trailers, the way I see Brie Larson act from the trailers, and pointing out she seemed very emotionless and everything. Was rarely see her show any emotion, so I was very concerned to see. As a fan of Marvel, I was very concerned to see how this was going to play out. And I don't know, I wasn't all that hyped to really go see it because of that. Usually they give a lot of the MCU characters, they give them some sort of personality and even show emotion or something. I don't know. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it for Captain Marvel. And for me, there's a lot of other reasons too. There's been talks. Before I get to the review, get this out of the way. There's also, of course, a lot of fans are already speculating that Captain Marvel is going to be the one to defeat Thanos in Avengers Endgame. A lot of fans have been pointing that out and been I feel like a lot of fans are too keen on that. And honestly, I can see why. And I'm gonna throw this out there because Captain Marvel, her movie has come out a month before Avengers Endgame, where the Avengers are gonna try to deal with Thanos, and Captain Marvel is just gonna swoop in out of nowhere and defeat Thanos like it's no problem. While all these other characters from the MCU have had all this character development and building up to this moment, to where and they've been struggling to deal with Thanos, and she's gonna come swooping in and defeat Thanos out of nowhere. So I can see where a lot of this, some of the fans will be kind of skeptical on that. But I'll give my judgment on that later. Yeah, the movie, it wasn't bad. It was good. It was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't phenomenal. To me as a fan, it was good. And the reason being I'm saying it was good is because it was a good introduction to Captain Marvel for the character. I liked the costume designs. A lot of the costume designs were pretty good. It was cool. I like the designs of the scrolls, the details on them. I absolutely loved the throwbacks to some of the things in the 90s, say Blockbuster. That was great. Even the length of the movie, I don't know, for the storytelling of the movie, I feel like it could have been a little shorter. And I'll get to that towards the end of the video when I talk about it a little more. But yeah, it was Brie Larson's performance in this wasn't bad for her portrayal of acting like Captain Marvel. Now the reason why I'm saying it wasn't great is because the movie alone, it didn't really have a villain, or even I guess say a super villain. It really didn't have a high-ranking villain for Captain Marvel to fight against, to have an epic battle against or anything. Nothing like that. So I don't know. It just I felt like that's what it was missing. But the movie was basically about Brie Larson, Captain Marvel. She was discovering her powers. She was learning how to figure out how to control them. And the Kree, they're controlling her. They're making her think that they were the good guys. And they were training her, and they had wiped her memory, and they were telling her to control her emotions. Don't show any emotions, because showing emotions shows weakness. And that explains a lot why she's emotionless. She's emotionless in the film, a good amount of the times. So it's very interesting. I really felt like Samuel L. Jackson was a good amount of the comedy of the movie, because this was in a way of him first finding out there are life forms out there, for the whole thing with the Avengers and the Chitauri coming from space and all that to invade Earth. So he was a good amount of the comedy of the movie. Yeah, so little by little, Captain Marvel, she ends up piecing together some of her past, until she gets a little help. But eventually, the concept of the story, yeah, is interesting, like, and all that, and how, like, the because it was a very much of a twist, where the Skrulls are kind of like actually the good guys and the Kree are actually the bad guys. Because it's like in the beginning, it's kind of like made to believe that the Kree are the good guys, but it's like in all, they're just brainwashing her. They're wiping her memory and they put false memories. But her real memories kept flooding back. The action was good. There was good little spots. Oh, I gotta point out real quick. I can't believe I didn't point this out yet. I loved the Marvel Studios intro before the movie started. The little intro where it's like it shows like all the characters in the MCU so far, and then it shows like Marvel Studios. They changed it in showing Stan Lee. I thought that was great. I absolutely love that. They showed like multiple shots of like Stan Lee's cameos in all of the past movies. It was great. I absolutely loved it. Everyone cheered when they saw it. That was awesome. And Stan's little cameo in it was funny. He was on the train. One thing I gotta point out, how she eventually found the Skrull because the Skrull turned into an old lady that the Skrull had bumped into when like an old lady that got off the train, and Captain Marvel happened to bump into that old lady too. So it's like as soon as she saw the old lady, like he looked familiar, like she doesn't say it, but she can obviously tell. And they start fighting, and I was curious if this was going to happen or not, but a lot of people on the train started to intervene, trying to stop Captain Marvel because they don't know what's going on, and they see like just this woman beating up an elderly woman, and it's pretty funny, and like eventually she's like pushing him off and everything, and then they end up fighting on top of the train. So that was pretty funny. We got to see Coulson again, in an MCU film. I thought that was cool, and it's like even him and Fury, they're portraying younger versions of themselves. Okay, so this freaking cat. I had no idea about this cat. I went blind about this cat. Let me look her up real quick. Oh, this cat. Wait, is that his name? Oh my god, that is terrifying. So, apparently in the comics, Captain Marvel has a cat, but it's like an alien species that just happens to look like a cat, but it's not really a cat. I went in blind about this cat. Goose? I did hear about it, or about how this cat is like gonna do something like amazing or whatever. To me, I'm like, it's just a cat. Like, I was like, what will it do? And I wanted to look it up, and part of me was like, I'm gonna wait. I was like, I don't want to get like, I was like, I want this to catch me off guard. I want to see what's gonna happen. I was like, is it just gonna help in some sort of weird way? Is it gonna talk? I don't know. Like, it's gonna have some sort of central intelligence. But oh my gosh, it ended up like having these like alien tentacles coming out of its mouth and everything, and like it was like, jeez. That caught me very off guard. I had no idea that was gonna happen. Oh man, it was pretty freaking terrifying, honestly, to tell you the truth. Oh jeez. Especially Fury ended up just like loving the Goose right away because he just thought it was a cat, but it turns out it wasn't. It was just funny. There are moments in the movie where you can tell there are some sorts of emotion. So like there's moments where Brie Larson, she shows emotion and then she doesn't. Because like I said, like for her character that she's playing as Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel was trained for years to not show emotion and like keep her emotions in check. And so there are times where, and especially whenever she tries to do like a little joke or whatever, and she kind of does a little smirk, that's a way of her showing some sort of personality of her character. So like I caught that at times. I caught that at times where she tried to show some sort of personality. The Skrulls, yeah. Then the Skrulls, they show when they end up revealing that like they're the victims. You know, to me, I'm like, this has to be a setup. But then eventually, I'm like, oh damn, I guess not. You know, I was very caught off guard on that. And then eventually, it turns out like the Kree and the Marvel, the actor Jude Law, the role he played in the movie. He was the one training on Captain Marvel. That him and his team, like, you know, they were really the bad guys. You know, which here's a loop. They end up finding out where this device or this power source that that Kree scientist had created, it turns out to be the Tesseract, and which I'm very surprised about. It kind of pieces together what happened to it, or how SHIELD got a hold of it, because Captain America, Red Skull had it, and then, you know, Red Skull disappeared and got teleported or whatever, and it fell in the ocean, and then Cap crashed, and then Tony's dad had a search team, and they were looking around the ocean trying to find the ship where Captain America had crashed in, and they found the Tesseract. So Tony's dad and a scientist ended up recovering the Tesseract first, and I'm guessing through them is where Project Pegasus eventually got a hold of it at some point. I don't know when, but I'm guessing they got a hold of it through them at some point. And then Captain Marvel, Fury and Captain Marvel, they end up finding it, and that's how Fury gets a hold of it for SHIELD. And that leads into Avengers, where SHIELD and SHIELD scientists have been studying and working on the Tesseract for years. So that was an interesting little kind of ties in. One of the things I thought was funny is that, or I thought it was funny because it kind of looks familiar. The device that's on Captain Marvel's neck, it reminded me a lot of Thor Ragnarok, of that device that Thor had in his neck. It was like a taser or something, you know, like it shocked him. It reminded me of that almost. Goose the cat had a scene in the movie that reminded me a little bit of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, when Groot like stretched out his arm and stabbed all the soldiers and was slamming them around, and like Goose the cat, to me, I felt like had a scene similar to that, where Fury and Lashana Lynch, the role she played in the movie as Captain Marvel's best friend, that both of them are trying to like escape with the Tesseract, and Captain Marvel was going to buy them time when she eventually got full control of her powers, and she started figuring out how to control it. That she's dealing with the Kree, and they're going to try to escape and get the Skrulls out of there, of this like almost of a space station almost floating above Earth. And Kree soldiers are coming down the hallway, and Goose, it's like tentacles comes out of its mouth and stretch out, and ends up grabbing all of them and slamming them around and eats them. And it's just like, ooh. Ronan ends up coming back in this one, where this was like before Guardians of the Galaxy, and Ronan really didn't do much. It would have been cool if they did something where, to me, it would have been cool if Ronan and Captain Marvel fought, and it would have been a cool little fight. But then eventually, I would have had it that Captain Marvel would have beaten Ronan, but like Ronan would have escaped, and that Ronan would have been so hurt that he would have like went into that chamber thing that he was in, that he came out of in Guardians of the Galaxy. In case you guys understand what I'm talking about, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan is introduced where he comes out of this one chamber almost as if he was in like as if he was asleep, or like he was like in stasis, you know, and he's awoken to like help Thanos recover one of the Infinity Stones in the Guardians of the Galaxy. To me, because Captain Marvel takes place before all this, I would have had it that Ronan would have fought against Captain Marvel, and it would have had a good fight because Captain Marvel was still trying to figure out how her powers work, and I would have had it that Marvel would have beat Ronan, but Ronan still would have somehow escaped by whatever means, but Ronan would have been so hurt that he would have went into this thing that would have healed him, or would have like contained him until he was recovered, and that's when he gets awakened for the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what I would have done. Because Ronan really did do much. Because Ronan ended up getting called by the Kree to help them out to deal with Marvel, and he shows up with like a fleet of ships, and they send out bombers towards Earth just to destroy it. And Captain Marvel comes flying out, destroying them and destroying the ships, and like Ronan just ends up leaving, realizing that like they're completely like outgunned or like outpowered by Captain Marvel. So it's pretty interesting. And then he says that like, oh, we'll be back, and he says like we'll be back for her. You know, like he wants to capture Captain Marvel and turn her into a weapon of his own, just like how the Kree did. I was like, yeah, but that doesn't happen because he ends up dying by the Guardians. It's kind of interesting how she was able to figure out how to fly right away. She ends up falling from the space station that got destroyed, and the rest of the Skrull survivors are on the ship that they had arrived in, and like she's like falling, and then she ends up learning how to fly. No lie, I like the way they did the effects of her powers. Like we saw some of it through the trailers, but seeing on the big screen and seeing more of her powers and how they work, it was interesting. It was cool. I liked it. It reminded me very Super Saiyan like. Like I said, there wasn't really much of a villain, like a villain in it or super villain. I wish there was. It would have made the movie more epic, you know, because she's still, like I said, she's still learning to control her powers. So it's like it would have been more of like if they got a good villain for her to fight against. I feel like it would have been more of it could have been a little more of an epic fight in a way. They could have done something. I did not like on how Fury lost his eye. I thought that was so dumb. A goose scratched his eye. Are you serious? Oh, I hated that. I wasn't. It was funny. I'm not a fan though. It's a funny thing to talk about later on though, because like when he's back at Shield and they find out his eye can't be really fully recovered, that Agent Coulson brings him a gift of these like glass eyes he could probably put over one in his eye, and he's telling like Agent Coulson's telling Fury, he's like, oh, is it true that like, you know, everyone's saying like you lost your eye fighting against some aliens or whatever? And Fury's all like, I confirm nor deny that. Oh man. I'm wondering how well they're gonna put it all together for them to like. I wonder how they're gonna piece it together where Captain Marvel ended up leaving Earth because she promised the Skrulls that she was gonna find them a new home to where they could live in peace, away from the Kree. And she had sent back what's his name? Jude Law, the character he played as, I believe is Mar-Vell. That she sends him back to let the Kree know that she's gonna end their war. You know, that she's like you know, that, and like they're done. You know, like she sees them for who they are, and so that's the reason. Those are the two reasons why she left Earth and she hasn't been on Earth, is because she when she led the Skrulls go find them a home where they could live peacefully and safely, and she went to go stop the Kree war. So that's why she was gone for all this time. But she's been gone, like, this took place in the 90s, or at least it was supposed to be. But she's been gone for years, like, almost like 30-something years in a way, hypothetically, for storyline-wise. She hasn't aged a bit. Because in the mid-credit scene, they show, like they show, the remaining Avengers. They show Cap, Widow, War Machine, Banner, and they have the pager that she ended up making for Fury, the pager in case of like, you know, something ever happened, like emergencies, you know, and where like they were using it and they kept on having it, like filling it up with energy so they would never run out of battery, and they kept on having it on. Eventually it went dead and they couldn't reactivate it. And it's like Widow was saying that obviously Fury, because like they figured out the Fury used it. He used this for whatever reason. They feel like Fury knew what he was doing, and they're out of options, obviously. So they're trying to figure out to get any help they can get, and eventually she's just right there. She pops up and she's behind them, and she's asking where's Fury, and that's it. Yeah, she didn't age a bit. So it's kind of funny. I'm wondering if they'll have it be like or as part of the effect of her powers, like this the energy that it reduces her aging or something. It'd be funny if they said something like that. Either that, or say something that's like, I don't know, space or whatever. You know, time's irrelevant. You know, which if they do that, then explain Star-Lord, how did he age so quickly? I don't know, because you know, Star-Lord, he was captured when he was a kid, you know, by Yondu, and he aged properly. I don't know, that's me. But all in all, oh, and end credit scene, Goose coughs up the Tesseract. All in all, the movie wasn't bad. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable to watch because you're seeing this character development for Captain Marvel, of her learning to control her powers, her learning of her past. And yes, she was emotionless at times, but it's understandable. Like, for me, I went into the movie trying to be open-minded. I heard all of these critics and everything of people being negative on the movie, and mostly because of Brie Larson's most recent comments, and that like had speculated online and everything, and these other sources that like have been getting out of how she's been acting lately, like outside of like, you know, filming or whatever, or even in filming. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy, honestly. But I heard about all this, and I'm just like I hope a lot of this isn't true. I'm like, because for me, I am Marvel Studios. I am a Marvel Studios fan. I am a Marvel fan. I love Marvel Studios and what they've been doing, and it's, yeah, like I said, it's a Marvel Studios movie. I did my best to go into this movie open-minded, and not only that, before I went to go see the movie, thinking back in my mind when I was about to watch the movie, no lie, I was nervous to even do a review, because let's say if the movie wasn't that bad, or was bad in general, and I didn't enjoy it, I still would want to have to do a review. But any kind of negative feedback you give on a certain topic could come back with dramatic consequences, you know. But I felt more comfortable to do a review because I actually enjoyed it. You know, bottom line, I actually enjoyed it. The movie wasn't bad. It was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was good. I went to the movie very open-minded. I wanted to be open-minded going into it. I'm like, all right, let's just see what they came up with. I have to remember that I kept on putting in my head, I have to remember that this was the first Captain Marvel movie, the first not only the first female standalone superhero movie from Marvel, but it was like the first Captain Marvel movie to where we've never had one. So I want to see how they do this, you know, with introducing this not new, but like a new Marvel Studios character, you know. And I feel like to go into this, you have to be open-minded, and you have to be a little patient. You have to be a little patient watching into this. The movie is slow in the beginning. It is slow, but because it's building the story around it. You have to try to focus and listen to the details of what's going on in the story in order to really fully understand it. Because like I said, the story around it, it's pretty interesting. Captain Marvel, she was a U.S. pilot for Project Pegasus, and she was helping out the scientists there, where she turns out to be an alien. And this new weapon, this new ship that she developed, ends up being destroyed, and the energy output off it ended up infusing into her body, and that's how she got her powers. And the Kree soldier, the one that ends up training her, was the one who did all. He ended up capturing her, brought her back to the Kree, and they ended up wiping her memories and to brainwash her to make her their weapon. So she was taken from her home, and she was brainwashed. Wiped her memories, and she wouldn't remember anything of her past. And she was trained to be emotionless, to have self-control. Like, she was like kind of trained to be a robot, basically, like just emotionless, not to have any feelings whatsoever. until eventually her memory started coming flooding back little by little, and started seeing the character development where she started acting little by little more human. And eventually, when she realizes the truth, she becomes the hero that a lot of people wanted her to see. Because it turns out she was helping out the bad guys this whole time, but she didn't know. She was believed that she was doing good. Eventually, she got control of her powers, and she became Captain Marvel. She became the hero, and she ended up defeating them, and she ended up helping out the Skrulls finding a new home. It's a very interesting story. And this is also why the reason why I say it was a good movie, and it wasn't like great or phenomenal. The reason why I say it's good is because it's a good introduction to her. It's a good introduction to her character, to understanding of her character. If, like I said, if there was like a super villain for her to fight against or whatever in the movie, and if there was a good fight sequence or something, it would have been pretty great. But it was a good introduction to her character. Plus, I feel like if they brought in a villain for her to fight against, they would have just made up some sort of character for her to fight against that would have some of the powers to her. Because Marvel Studios does that a lot. But it was good. I enjoyed it. If I had to rate it out of 5 stars, I would give it 3.5. I feel like 4 is being generous, but 3.5, I feel like that's good because it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Simple as that. I enjoyed it. Avengers Endgame is coming up next month. For me, this is some speculations I've been hearing floating around on the internet. I heard apparently Brie Larson, she has been... This is going to be some rumor talk I heard floating around the internet that I hope is not true. I heard recently Brie Larson and her agent, they were able to get... They complained on set for Avengers Endgame to where she wanted more scenes of for her character Captain Marvel in Avengers Endgame. And so they had to cut out some scenes and with Black Widow and Scarlet Witch, and so they had to cut out a few amount of spots of other characters to replace her with Captain Marvel. And that made a lot of the cast unhappy because she was doing this. Because the cast is already big enough as it is, and they have to fill up so much, and so they want to give a certain amount of characters a good amount of time at least. But I hope this isn't true. If it is, that's going to be very disappointing. It'll be very disappointing on Brie Larson's part if she did that. Because like I said, I agree. The cast is so big already for Avengers. Like, why are you going to push the links like that? You know, you just had your first movie. Why are you going to push the links like that? And I feel like if this is true, the only people that they have to blame, the only two things that they have to blame is Brie Larson herself and Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios put it in her head that she is literally going to be the face of the franchise for the next 10 years. And I'm only saying this if all of this is true. If it is, then yeah. Marvel Studios put this in Brie Larson's head that she's going to be the face of the franchise for the next 10 years because she is the most powerful Marvel character. And so this probably got to her ego a bit, and she's using this to where she wants to get what she wants. I'm also saying I hope this isn't true. I'm hoping this is not true, and that way it's still enjoyable to watch. There's no reason to force feed like stuff onto the fans. If you force feed stuff like this, fans are only going to come out negative. And then one last thing I want to say for the Avengers, heading towards Avengers Endgame next month. Me personally, when they fight against Thanos one more time, I personally hope that Captain Marvel is not the one to defeat Thanos. Reason being, she just barely came in. Yeah, she's powerful, but I hope she helps in the fight against Thanos. I hope she's not the one that finishes him off or kills him or whatever they do. And I'm hoping she's not the one that defeats him or kills him. I'm hoping that victory goes to Thor. Reason being, Thor is the one that lost the most, and he's the one that had the most character development to me of what I've seen. If you think about it, Thor's lost both of his parents. His brother's dead. His best friend is dead. His friends are dead. His sister showed up in Ragnarok and was evil, took his eye, and yeah, it's like all of his friends, and wiped out half of his kingdom, of his people. His kingdom is destroyed. Half of whatever is left of a portion of his people, of the Asgardians, is out in space somewhere. He lost his hammer. Yeah, Thor, I feel like, is the one who has lost the most, and I feel like he's the one who needs this the most. He's the one that needs this victory against Thanos for retribution for everything that he's lost. That's just how I see it. I hope she helps in the fight. I hope she's not the one that ends it with Thanos. I don't know. That's just me. But all in all, Captain Marvel was a good movie. I recommend you guys go check it out. It was good. Like I said, you guys got to keep an open mind, patient in it, and just really pay attention to what's going on. All in all, that's really all I got to say. I mean, what you guys' opinions are on my review, and what were your guys' opinions on the movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, favorite, subscribe. See you next one, guys.